This video is about an EQ plugin from Analog Obsession called Rare SE. Like all of Tonka's plugins, it's free, but if you use his plugins and like them, you can support his work on Patreon. A link for the download is in this video's description. Rare SE is an emulation of the legendary Pultec EQP-1 program equalizer with some added features. The EQP-1 was first sold in 1953 and each was hand-built to order to extremely high-quality standards, with some of these early units still in working condition now. The term magical is sometimes used to describe what this piece of hardware did to sound, and rather expensive replicas are still made, and pretty much every major plugin making company has a Pultec emulation plugin. The original hardware made sound going through it better, even with no EQ settings. I have doubts modern replicas, often using transistors and plugins, can claim this. It is a two-band EQ, low frequencies and high frequencies. Low frequencies has four choices: 20 Hz, 30 Hz, 60 Hz and 100 Hz. One can use the boost knob to boost at the selected frequency, or the attenuation knob to cut at that frequency. High frequency has 7 choices: 3 kHz, 4 kHz, 5 kHz, 8 kHz, 10 kHz, 12 kHz and 16 kHz. The frequency selection switches are labeled CPS for cycles per second for the low end, and KCS for kilocycles per second for the high frequencies, like on the original hardware. Once again, there is a boost knob to boost at the selected frequency, an attenuation knob, but the attenuation knob works in conjunction with the attenuation selection switch to the right of it, not the frequency selection switch below. At the top right is a 3-position switch for attenuation selection for the high frequencies, with choice of 5 kHz, 10 kHz and 20 kHz. This works like a low-pass filter, with a high-frequency attenuation knob regulating the amount of high-end cut. The original hardware unit had instructions to use either boost or attenuation on both low and high frequencies, but many engineers found that doing both, boost and cut, resulted in great sound, and it was often used that way. Reason for this is the cut is not the exact opposite of boost, and some interesting curves result from doing both at the same time. Between the frequency selection switches is a bandwidth knob used to adjust how steep the EQ curve is for the high frequency adjustment, basically similar to the Q setting on parametric equalizers. What makes the Rare SE different is that it's 2 Pultecs in one plugin, where they can be used as left and right or mid and side processing. There's a switch for the choice between left and right and mid and side, and a switch giving choice of linking or unlinking the two. In normal stereo use, the two would generally be linked, and changing a setting on one automatically makes a change on the other. Set to mid and side, unlinking allows different setting for the mid and side. Finally, right-hand side middle of the interface has output level knobs for left mid and right side, adjustable from -12 dB to +12 dB. When the two are linked, changing one also changes the other. Like most Analog Obsession plugins, clicking on the name Analog Obsession switches oversampling on and displays the name in red instead of white. The plugin can be activated and bypassed by clicking on the top left in switch or on the top right status light when the two are linked, or for each in switch when unlinked, or the red status lights. One can also use the activate and bypass method of the door. I will first show what the settings do using Plugin Doctor, and then show rare SE used on the bass and kick drum in a part of one of my songs. It can be useful on just about any track and also been used on the whole mix with a boost to the low frequencies and a bigger boost to the high frequencies, as well as improving mid and side. I'm still far from expert on mid and side processing, so I will only demonstrate it used for stereo. Those familiar with mid and side processing will find using it for this straightforward, but there's a good chance they don't really need this video anyway. I'm using Logic Pro for this, but this plugin can be used in GarageBand and in any of the major digital audio workstation software. With the plugin turned off, you can see Plugin Doctor showing a perfectly flat horizontal frequency line at 0 dB. When the plugin is turned on with no adjustments, the level drops a little and is quite flat from around 10 Hz to around 500 Hz. Then it dips slightly, stays quite flat to around 5 kHz, dipping slightly to around 10 kHz. About that it rolls off relatively quickly to around -5 dB at 20 kHz. Leaving the low frequency selection at 20 Hz and increasing the low frequency boost shows quite a lot of low frequency boost can be added. Something I find interesting is at high boost levels, frequencies above 500 Hz drop by around 2 dB. Returning the low frequency boost to 0 and turning up the low frequency attenuation shows quite significant cuts can be made to the low frequencies. There's some impact on frequencies above 500 Hz, but much less than boost. Now I return the low frequency attenuation to 0, boost the low frequency boost to half of maximum, and go through the low frequency selections to show the impact on the curves. Now we do the same for the low frequency attenuation. We return the low frequency attenuation to 0 and move to high frequency. Setting the high frequency boost to halfway, we can see what the frequency selections do to the curve. Returning the high frequency boost to 0, setting the high frequency attenuation halfway up, and going through the high frequency selections, we can see this has no impact on the curve. Now we look at the attenuation selection switch settings. We can see the impact of increasing the attenuation at 20 kHz, 10 kHz and 5 kHz. We return the high frequency attenuation to the 0 setting at 20 kHz and look at the impact of the bandwidth knob on the high frequency boost. We turn up the high frequency boost to halfway and move the bandwidth knob from broad to sharp to see the impact on the curve. Now we do the same for the other high frequency selections. Now we look at rare SE used on 2 tracks, bass and kick drum. I'm using the instrumental section of a song I wrote a long time ago and did a version of recently. First I'll play the section without rare SE. Now I'll solo the bass and play it before adding the rare SE. I had some boost at 60 Hz, a lot of boost at 3 kHz. I also add some low-end attenuation. I also turn on oversampling by clicking on the analog obsession name. It turns from white to red. Now the bass in the whole mix. Now I solo the kick, activate rare SE and add some boost at 30 Hz. A bit of lower attenuation and a big boost at 3 kHz. I also move the bandwidth knob down a bit from the most broad setting. Now in the context of the whole mix. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a like. The song I used is called Let's Play and I have a video with it on this channel linked in the description.